All right, let's go ahead and get started. This is Ian Alexander, Chief Operating Officer and co-founder at Syncro, and joining me today is Crystal, who is awesome and part of our sales team. And thank you for joining us for another episode of What's New in Syncro. These are super fun for us, and if you haven't been in one yet, it's basically where we go through all of the different things we released since the last What's New in Syncro video, which I believe was about a month and a half ago. And today we have a lot of stuff to get through because we've released a lot of new stuff. So Crystal and I are going to take turns going through each of those things and telling you about them. One thing I will say up front is because we do have a lot of things to cover, we'll probably answer questions at the end. You can ask questions either through the chat box in Zoom or through the Q&A box. Either one is totally fine. And feel free to start submitting them whenever, and just at the end of the webinar, we will go ahead and answer them for you. All ready to go, Crystal?
I am ready. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
All righty. So the first thing is the Pax8 integration, which is one of my personal favorite integrations. For those of you that don't know Pax8, they are a cloud distribution company. So if you want to get like Office 365 or Symantec or any of these other things and you want to resell them to people, any of these cloud solutions, Pax8 makes it so you can just go to Pax8 instead of having to go and develop relationships with each of those individual vendors. And our integration with them is super cool. It's one of my favorite kind of integrations because it helps you make money. So essentially, when you go buy a license from, let's say, of Office 365 through Pax8, all of that stuff can get synced into Syncro. So in your inventory in Syncro, you can sync over all the products that you can resell in Pax8. So there's an inventory item for them there. And then when you're reselling something to somebody, and let's say you sell somebody another license of Office 365, in your recurring invoices, the line items can get automatically updated. So you don't have to go and manually move it from like 20 licenses to 21 licenses, right? So it automates that billing for you, which is super cool. So by us integrating with Pax8, you essentially got immediate access to dozens of different products that you can resell to people in a way that's super automated. So super excited about that. The other cool thing about it is that you can get using the Pax8 tab in Syncro, you can actually view your Pax8 dashboard right within Syncro. So you don't have to leave it, which makes things pretty easy. So that's super fun. Anything to add about Pax8, Crystal?
I don't think so, other than that maybe you mentioned this, but that on a reoccurring invoice, you can have those items and it'll automatically populate those if the license numbers change and things like that.
Yep, totally. So super excited about Pax8. Their team is also awesome and has been fun to work with. The next thing is Malwarebytes. So we made an integration with Malwarebytes. It was actually more they made the integration. And it takes advantage of our scripting engine. And because our scripting engine is super powerful and our PSA and RMM are combined, it makes things easy for them to make an integration. So essentially, it's 3 different scripts that they wrote. And if you go to the app card, it kind of basically creates those scripts for you. And then you'll have them in your scripting library. The first one helps you install Malwarebytes. So to clarify, this is Malwarebytes Premium. And so it will ask you when you run the script on a machine for the license key for Malwarebytes Premium, and then it will install it for you. Then there's a second script for monitoring for threats. So if Malwarebytes Premium finds any threats, it will create an alert in Syncro. And the last script is if you want to run an on-demand scan, then you can do that. And it makes it super easy. You go to the app card, you set it up. The other thing you can do is if you want Malwarebytes to be installed on every machine, you can add it to a policy because it is a script. You can do it in the setup scripts and the script schedules. So pretty easy to use, and yeah, that's Malwarebytes.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about a few other things. I'm going to head over to the admin section. And And so one of the things we've added, we've made some updates to appointments just in general. But one thing, if you head to appointment types, you'll now see if you just select, I'm just going to go into any of them, you now can add a buffer time between appointments. So we've added this so you can better manage your schedule within Syncro. And then in addition to that, I guess if I just head right back to the admin section, there is another setting in your admin. Just below appointment types, there's appointment reminder schedules. So now you can kind of go in and you can further define when you want these reminders to go out. So it could just be, hey, in the morning, let's send a reminder, but you can get very granular with the actual amount of time before an appointment, and you can also have it be a text message reminder as well. So we've added that functionality to the reminder schedule. And then, so in addition to that, since now you have different appointment types with different buffers and things like that, now what we've done is to PDF and email templates. What we added here, if we just go to email templates, for example, let's say the appointment reminder, I believe this template tag is in all of the templates, but it makes probably most sense on this. We've added the appointment type, this appointment type tag, so you can just easily drag and drop that into your template as well now.
Awesome. Okay, so the next one is we added a new type of email template. So it's a paid invoice email template. This makes it clearer because now your customers will essentially get a separate email for an unpaid invoice versus a paid invoice. So you can have different copy there. It's a little less confusing for them. So that's super cool. People have been asking for it for a long time, and there are now 2 templates. Next, you can now name your recurring invoice templates. So previously, we had actually released names for a couple other things, like normal invoices and estimates. We just added a name for recurring invoices as well. So it makes it easier for you and your clients to tell which invoices are for what. And so you can see that there that Crystal is showing, and you can give it that name. And then once the invoice is actually created, there's a new field there on the invoices page for the name of the invoice.
Awesome. Okay, so now since we're in reoccurring invoices anyways, I'm just gonna grab one of our reoccurring. Let's just go to Larry's reoccurring, because one thing I wanted to show you is we've had dynamic counters for a while for endpoint counters. So we've had an asset and RMM counter, we've had an RMM package counter, but we've now added your customer contact counter. So now you can bill your customers for how many contacts you've created. And what's cool is that not only do you have the option, like this, what it's doing right now, I have 4 contacts created for Larry, so I'm just going based upon that, but you can further define that. So you can actually say, I don't want to bill them for every single contact I have in here, but if they have a specific contact custom field, then you can further define this dynamic counter too. So that was very highly requested also, so I'm glad to definitely see that in there now. All right, let's see here. Then, okay, so customer portal, another highly requested option here. And if you go back to your admin section, you'll see that you have a brand new section here for customers. You have portal user permissions. So from here, if you go ahead and hop into one, you'll see that now you can create permission groups basically just like security groups for your own technicians. You can now define portal access. So if you give someone a portal invitation or whatever, you can define what access they have to in the actual portal itself. So that's been huge. Let's see, a couple other things. Let's go over to, I'm gonna go to it from an actual customer, because I know this is the customer I created this documentation page for. We can now add attachments to the documentation pages. So I'm just gonna go into one. I haven't fully added it yet because I was gonna show you while we do it here. But if you just edit one of your documentation pages, you'll see I have uploaded, basically I just did attach file and from my computer. This is my puppy, by the way. But what you can do, you can literally just hit resized URL, you just have to click it, and then you can go here and you can paste that link right here and add it to this documentation page now. So that's new and added and really nice for your documentation pages. So I'll go ahead and save that.
And it works for files, not just
And
pictures. So if you had
yes,
like documentation, and if you wanted like, oh, hey, like install this thing on their computer and then install this thing, like you can upload the files too.
awesome. Yes, very cool. Let's see here. What's next? The other thing here, tickets. Oh, okay. So let me go ahead and grab a ticket. I believe it's this one. Let's go into this ticket. So now what we've done, if you go to this add or view charges, you now can just hover over this, any line item here. If it's been previously invoiced, you can now just hover over it and see what invoice this belongs to. So that's just been kind of a quick view add to kind of help your efficiency there.
Sweet. Okay, so this one came, we were doing an onboarding session. I don't know how many of you know this, but we do onboarding sessions for free, up to 3 of them. And we were doing an onboarding session, somebody was getting set up, and they mentioned that for every asset type, they had a lot of fields that were really similar, like vendor or like make and model, basically, and a couple things. And they were having to recreate them every single time. So what we did is we made it so you can clone asset types. And that carries over all the custom fields. So that should help people get set up faster. So that's nice. We released a change. What was happening is a lot of people were using the leads module, and there was a lot of spam getting through. So we added a CAPTCHA to the leads module so that hopefully you get a lot less spam. So that could potentially save you a ton of time if you're using the leads module. Let's see here. We are also, we released a change for Syncro Live. So for those of you that know, in Syncro Live previously, you could choose to like show a little prompt when you remoted into their computer, and it would say, so-and-so remoted into your computer and is now like doing a remote session, right? And a lot of people wanted that to appear on by default. So we added, rather than having to like click a button, so we added a checkbox here, show Syncro Live session indicator by default. And so now you can show that. That being said, one of the things that is a bit invisible and like doesn't actually have a thing on our blog is we are actually constantly improving Syncro Live. So you won't see that on our blog or anything, but tons of little updates that make a huge difference over the last 3 or 4 months. And we're constantly doing that. If every time we told you we made a Syncro Live improvement, it would be a little ridiculous. So I'm telling you right now, we're making lots of Syncro Live improvements. You probably won't see it on the blog because we're not going to like brag about it every 5 seconds. But we are very aware that it needs lots of like stability and speed improvements and stuff, and we are working super hard at that.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so this next one is it's a little bit hard to show just in screen, but I'm sure if you've had the experience where when you go to install Bitdefender, for some reason it doesn't finish the install and you're kind of left wondering like what's the actual reason, we now have this little pop-up that will actually really give you some useful information on why it failed and what needs to happen to be able to move forward with that installation. Maybe there's, has another AV installed, that kind of thing. So we've made some improvements to try to just help the process of getting Bitdefender installed and help you troubleshoot this a lot quicker and easier. So we've added that. The other thing that we've added in this admin section, if you head to estimates and preferences, you now have the ability, if you go to additional settings here, you can have it like an estimate auto expire after a certain amount of days. So if you send it to your customer and they have not responded at all, you can just say, hey, after 7 days, let's just automatically decline that estimate. So that's where you can set that up in preferences from your admin section.
Nice. Okay, so the next thing, and I believe there's a particular asset we're supposed to show that has a good example here.
I am. I'm going to go to, let's see, prod.
It's W3, I think.
This one. Yeah, this one
Yeah,
has quite a bit of scripts on here.
right. So
Okay.
essentially the improvement we made is the script results table. So that's like I ran a script and here's what my results were. Within the assets detail scripting tab, the UI has been updated to make it easier to read. It was a little hard before and it is better now. Oh, yes, this one is great. So on the RMM alerts page, you now can bulk delete and like bulk clear these. Yes. So you couldn't do that before. So you had to manually go and do it one at a time. And now you can bulk clear them, which is awesome. And hopefully people, that's a little like quality of life thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, a couple other kind of, I think these are also quality of life types of things. When you're in a policy and you're going and defining all of these alerts and things like that, we had a few questions that just kept popping up around this. I believe it's the status notification. Yeah. Basically it was just, there was just a little bit of confusion of what rearm actually did, and so we've just given you a little bit of a tooltip to help you decide if that's what, you know, what actual rearm means and if you want that setting applied. Okay, let's see here. Let's see, we've added, oh, okay. Yeah, this is another, again, these are a lot of things that just we get requests for that would just improve your efficiency essentially. So for example, if we're in a reoccurring invoice, what we've added, if you're in Larry's invoice, for example, there's now a link to his customer profile page. Before, you'd have to go and search for Larry, but now there's just a quick click of a button, you can be in Larry's Lamplighter profile. Let's see. Oh, also another thing that's just nice is that now anything that's like a dynamic counter or a quantity that should populate automatically, now it does that anytime you click on this schedule or go to edit this reoccurring invoice. Anything that has a line item with a quantity that should dynamically change will do that when you hit edit, not the next time it runs. It'll do it so you can see it more in real time.
Nice. The other thing on this page that we added is when you have like a recurring invoice that is scheduled to run, you can now run it on demand if it missed the 6 a.m. like scheduled kickoff. So we generate all the recurring invoices at 6 a.m. every day. And if you had an invoice that didn't run or that you set to run like in the future and it would have missed that 6 a.m., then now you can manually run it, which is really nice. The next thing here is we added a bunch of information in the about the antivirus details in the asset overview tab and the asset quick view modal. So what was happening, yeah, exactly, Crystal's showing it. Specifically, we show a bunch of information about other AVs that were previously installed. And this should hopefully clear up some stuff. People were getting a little confused. We were only showing one antivirus before at a time and we were prioritizing. So like if you had Windows Defender and something else, it like maybe it would show Windows Defender and not the other thing. So now it has more info there. It's also in the quick view modal. So hopefully that helps out. We've also added the asset name to certain applicable asset notification rules. So this is like if you get an email in Notification Center about some kind of alert or like there's various emails there, we've added more context to make it easier to understand which asset this is happening to because some people didn't have enough info there. One thing I forgot to mention about the antivirus stuff is we added a bunch about the installation status of the AV. So for example, Bitdefender can be kind of finicky in terms of like, oh, if there's another antivirus that's installed, then Bitdefender just won't do it. And so now we're like getting all the exit codes from the installer and you can actually see much better why the AV might have not installed and then you can do something about it.
Yep, awesome. Okay. All right, so let's see, moving right along, let's head over to one of the things when you're in a policy. I'm sure you've seen that we now have, a few of these organically built-in triggers now have the ability to auto-resolve. Just to mention too, if you have an automation set up where tickets are created for this alert specifically, we now will automatically resolve the ticket as well. So if you have auto resolve here, you've got an automation set up. When this is resolved, it will go ahead and resolve that ticket for you as well. Surfacing information, another thing that we've added to just kind of make ease of just visibility. I'll go to, let's see here, just to drill down a little bit better. I'm going to go to a specific device here that has, let's go to this one. We've made it visible now where if you're on monitoring, if you go to the monitoring section, now you can easily see what Windows patch policy is applied to this device. So before, really, you'd have to go to that policy to see what Windows patch policy was applied to this device. So now we've just surfaced that in a more clear way on an asset level. In addition to that, another thing that we've added from our leads module, if you convert a lead into a ticket, we've now added, just by default, in the actual ticket, there'll be a private comment in the communication section that will tell you that that ticket was created from a lead. So it just gives you more visibility and you have more knowledge of what's going on with your tickets.
Nice. On that note of tickets, if you want to head over to a ticket and let's look at some of the timer entry stuff. Essentially, different people have different workflows in terms of how they want to handle charging time for tickets. So before, if you were in the ticket timer log, you could see that if you had a new entry there, the default would be that you had to come in and click charge time, which is fine and it works for most people. However, there were some people saying, actually, I want it to default to charge time. And if I don't want it to charge time, then I'll click the button to, not charge for that thing. So we added a new setting here where you can choose what the default is. Do you want it to charge time by default or not charge time by default? So that is a new thing. Let's see here. We also added the ticket resolution date to the edit ticket page. So let's say you have a resolved ticket, you hit edit, you can now change the resolved at timestamp, which is nice because maybe you accidentally clicked resolved. Let's see. Right. Actually, we're going to skip this one. Oh, no, this one's good. Okay, so let's say you have multiple ticket timers running at the same time. And you want to go and view all the active ticket timers. Now you can stop any of them from this page, which is really nice.
Very highly requested also. So really cool to be able to do that. Okie doke. So let's show a couple of things that we have changed. We have the ability for customers, if you go to just a customer custom field, I'm wondering, I can't remember if Larry actually has an icon to give you an example of what I mean by an actual icon next to a customer. So for example, for Larry, if I wanted this icon right here, if I want to create an icon, maybe you can select an icon that maybe tells you right at first glance what level or tier of customer this is. So you can add an icon using a customer custom field. And what was happening is you could create one, but there wasn't a very easy way once you've created the icon to actually clear it and start over. And so now we've improved just the functionality of adding an icon to a customer there. Let's see here. Then we, from the customer portal, if I go back to Larry and head over to his online customer portal, I unfortunately don't have a great example of this because I don't have a payment processor integrated to this demo account, but we've made a lot of UI improvements to like making payments and just the style and formatting of that payments and profile detail page. In addition to that, kind of where you saw this link to go directly to the customer portal, we've added some UI improvements here for the customer and documentation. So this is one example of where documentation now is a little bit more clear. Like you can, these links used to be up here just next to where it says links. And so sometimes it was a little bit confusing. Like, is this a link to their documentation? It didn't give you the option to like create a new one from there. So it wasn't as clear that you could create multiple documentation pages for your customers. So we've improved that UI to just make that a little bit more clear. You can easily go to those documentation pages, of course, but you can also create a new one straight from this page. So that's been a nice add. Oh, also, okay, so another really huge time saver, if you head over to policies, we've always had the ability to clone policies, but what would happen is it would clone just the base template of the policy, but now it will clone the sub policies. So it's going to bring over whatever Windows updates policy you have, whatever application patch management, if there's event log monitoring. So it's now going to bring over all sub policies in that clone as well. So you don't have to add those in after the fact.
Nice. Okay, next we added some new variable tags. So one for, it's basically the account subdomain tag is now available in scripting, which is really nice. So yes, and yes. And then subdomain is there. And the significant thing here for that is that there's a lot of like scripts in the community scripting library that when you clone them, you then have to go into the script and you have to essentially change the subdomain in the script. And now for all future scripts, people can just use this platform variable and it won't need to be changed and the scripts will just work. So that's super cool. Let's see here. Oh, that account subdomain tag is also in the PDF/email templates. So if you, for whatever reason, need to put them in your emails or templates, you can now do that. And I believe once you get in there, it's called account_subdomain. Yep, right there, account_subdomain. So you can use that now. Let's see. Next, this is maybe not a thing I can show you, but for Microsoft Outlook errors, you now will have a lot more debug info when we are unable to renew your authorization token. So it's going to just help you troubleshoot what's going on and hopefully resolve issues there. We also improved the ticket time log entry UI. So it's not like when you look at it, you'll notice it looks slightly different, but maybe you won't be able to pinpoint why. It's basically easier to read now. And so it's, yeah, the like font and text is a little bit different and the layout's better. So it's easier to read. Let's see. One of the last things is in Syncro Live, we added scroll wheel support. So if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, that should now be supported in Syncro Live. We also enhanced the performance of the dashboard page, so it should load faster, and it's just better in general. Yeah, so did I miss anything, Crystal?
No, I think you got it all.
Okay, we also fixed a boatload of bugs. I don't really want to go into like every single one, and they're not very exciting because they are bugs, but we did fix a ton of stuff. So that's super cool. Yeah, so that's everything we have to show you. There are already a ton of questions, but we're going to hang out for a while and answer them for you. So feel free, if you haven't already, to submit a question either via the chat box or the Q&A box. Crystal, are there any in particular that you want to start off with?
Let's see here. I'm just going to look through the chat box ones. And so
Okay.
I'll just kind of start through there. Let's see. When will you have patch management added to Syncro so we can stop updates or tell all Windows 10 computers to update at once? So, John, for the most part, that functionality exists, where when you're going into, like, you can go to policy modules and Windows updates, and you can very granularly define how your Windows updates are patching. So you can do that on a category level. You can choose to have all of these categories patch on a very specific day. Like, you can have it be weekly, or maybe you want it monthly on the fourth Tuesday of the month, something like that. And if it requires a reboot, you can further define that as well. So you absolutely can schedule all of your Windows updates on either like, you can apply a specific policy to one particular asset or to a group of assets as well. So hopefully that answers your
It's
question.
worth noting too, like, can you click that drop down again, categories to install?
Yeah.
So if you select just like critical updates and security updates, what that means is that it's going to install those two categories on this schedule, but everything else is going to be blocked. So it's going to block it from installing the other patches. And those you will have to like manually go to the patch management page for that asset or into the patch management reports and manually say, like, I want to install updates. So this is also blocking patches for the categories that you did not select. So we do have the ability to block patches. The thing that we are not able to do is block specific patches by KB. So you can block them by category, but not by KB.
Yep. Let's see, Kevin, you want the ability to essentially customize the session prompt from Syncro Live. It's a great feature request. I have heard that before. So I definitely think we're open to adding some enhancements to that pop-up for sure. And then Rick wants to know if we recognize Viper now. I would have to check with support on that. I'm not positive on that one yet, Rick.
Yeah, the way that the AV recognition works in the asset detail page is we ask WMI whether an AV is installed. Most antiviruses, if they're good, should probably be telling WMI. Otherwise, I think Windows will pop up a like little balloon tooltip that says like, you don't have an AV installed. So as long as Viper does that, then it should be recognizing Viper. But I haven't used Viper specifically on my computer, so I don't really know for sure.
Let's see here. Just kind of more of a feature request to enhance some more big picture details on an asset. Kevin, I can definitely relay that to the team for sure. Let's see. If you want to hop in anytime, Ian, you're welcome to. I'm just reading.
Yeah, there's this one by Chris that's about leads being broken out. Chris, I could be wrong, but I think what you're asking for already exists. I think if you use email rules, then when you get if you get an email and it has a particular subject line, then you can route it in particular ways with that. So I'm not sure if maybe there's just not enough info in your question, but you might want to check out email rules if you're looking to route things via subject line.
Jonathan is recommending we kind of adopt the parent-child option for policies because yeah, like we showed you, you can clone now, but there's not necessarily a master policy
Right.
parent-child relationship there yet.
Yes, that is a hairy endeavor to change. I think it's been brought up a couple times. It's not on our like immediate roadmap. So I think there are many methodologies for like how to do that. So it's a little harder to. We could do it one way, and then like some people would be angry, and then it's like some people would be super happy with the same thing. So it's a little, yeah.
Absolutely. I was just showing, the next question was, do you have the ability to edit the invoice date. So you do, if you just go to that edit, that invoice in particular, because yeah, you can't change it just by like going here. But if you edit it, you absolutely can change the invoice date. Invoices with deductible prepaid hours, but no charges. Can we have the ability to?
Oh, this is $0 invoices, not sending them.
Oh, got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yes, we want to do that, but we haven't done it yet.
Okay.
It's basically like we don't want to send emails to people if it's a $0 invoice.
Okay. Okay, the next one, as Ian mentioned, I mean, we are continuing to make a ton of improvements with Syncro Live. So, I mean, speed, functionality will just continue to increase. You know, for anything that if it's network based, if there's anything in particular, I would reach out to support on that one to see if there's anything, you know, that they can do.
It's also worth noting that, like, I don't know, Daniel's the one that submitted this question. I don't know where you are in the world, but the speed is probably significantly better in the United States, because when you are using a WebSocket connection, which is the like relayed connection that you see in Syncro Live, the farther you are from our servers, the slower it's going to be because it has to travel farther. Which is why when it's in the same network and it's using WebRTC, it's super fast because it doesn't actually use our servers. It goes straight to the other computer. And we are constantly improving that stuff. And it's also worth saying, like, there isn't some like silver bullet where we're gonna like fix this one thing and it's gonna make Syncro Live like 300 times better. It's actually like a series of really small improvements, probably. Which is why we're saying like we're constantly improving it, and you'll see it get better and better and better. But I just to set expectations, like I don't think it's that there's some like big problem. It's more like there are like 1,000 small improvements that can be made that all add up.
And then Adam, I think Ian meant, I don't, timing of these messages, I'm not sure if this was during the time Ian was explaining that you can't block a specific KB, but you can block a category essentially. Let's see here. And then I think the second part of John's question was also somewhat answered. Let's see here.
Right. They might want to see the reports. Do you want to show them the like?
Sure.
The report that has missing patches and
so yeah, there's two different ways you can look at it essentially. Is this what you mean, Ian?
Yes,
where you can
exactly.
You can see the specific patches here, and you can drill into the devices that are missing those patches. In addition to that, you can look at it by system as well. There's a couple other really cool things too. So there's these reports, and obviously you can see, okay, Dell, you know, Ian's Dell is missing these categories, and these are the KBs that are applied to them. In addition to that, like if you're in your assets and RMM page, you can use this saved asset search. You can pop this out, you can go to a new search, and you can just search here too, like if you know the specific KB. So we try to surface a lot of different ways that you can look at. And of course, on an asset level, on a specific asset level, you can see which patches have been recently installed as well as which patches are missing. So there are several ways to kind of look at that.
Yeah, and we are aware that you know, some people want to be able to block by KB. We'll probably do that eventually. We are aware that it's like a missing piece of functionality.
And then Rob, what I was going to show you, like, because you can absolutely have different locations. You can, you can go to your customers page and add locations and sites. The question was how to easily see, okay, this location has this device. So I just wanted to show you from this page, if you attach an asset to a specific site and you want to drill down to, you know, Larry's assets that are at, you know, location 2. I don't know if he has any on this location, but you do have the ability to filter by site as well. So you can easily say, okay, at that site, here's my site and address, because these columns are customizable as well. So as long as you create the site and address from the customer page, you can absolutely attach that to an asset and see them from here. So it's not necessarily a super clear view from the customer detail page, like mentioned in the question, but you can see it very clearly from here.
Nice. Let's see. Do you have security groups to restrict text to certain clients? We are releasing something maybe tomorrow. So not yet, but just keep an eye out. There will be something soon.
Let's see. Let's see here. I'm trying to, there's a lot of them here. If you have any that you're wanting to jump in on, Ian, go for it.
Sure. So one here from Rob: would love to have the option to create alerts off of Windows events that have severity level of information so that I can create an alert for Windows lockout events. I think you can do that already. Do you want to head to event log policies?
Do you want me to create a new one?
Yeah. And then new event log query. So here you can pick, like, you would, in your case, you would do like 4070 for the event ID. And then I think under severity, do they have, is information in there? Oh, we don't have that. But yeah, so maybe is that the thing that you're saying is missing, is the information dropdown? Okay, got it. Yes, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty easy thing for us to add. Let's see here. I'm getting lost in so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Let's see.
Once I make the policies, does that go to all computers once you create the policy? You can apply the policy to whichever computers you want. So it's up to you. And I think Crystal's showing that.
Yeah, I was just going to show, like, you can actually just grab all of your devices, and if you go up to manage, you can change the policy that you want applied from here. You can do a lot of group things from here. In addition to that, when you're on, like, when you're in an actual customer detail page, you have the ability, when you go to actually install the agent, you'll see, if you go to grab a new RMM agent installer, it's going to ask you what policy you want to install. So you either choose it at the beginning, but it's always changeable.
Got it. Yes. Let's see. How about some more how-to videos on creating alert to ticket to auto remediate to close ticket? Yes, I love that. We are, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have released a ton of new videos. That's like a new activity for us. It's like making lots of videos. Our YouTube channel actually has a lot more videos than it used to. So we are working on a lot more videos. It's funny, but people ask for videos now almost as often as they ask for new features. So we are super aware of that. And I think uh, part of the reason we are so interested in making more videos is because I think there's so much functionality in Syncro that most people don't know about. And so it's like almost the same thing. If we release a new video that shows you how to use a new feature, it's almost the same thing as us making a new feature. So we definitely want to help people get the most out of Syncro, and videos are a great medium for doing that. And we are investing a lot in that.
Hey, and do you know if the Pax8 integration brings over prorated pricing?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. I wonder if PAX8 built a thing so that when prorations are supposed to happen, it goes in and updates. I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess no. I'm gonna guess that it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not sure. We got to hear a question from Lauren that I wanted to address. Lauren says, in reference to the latest trend of hackers targeting and hacking MSP platforms, like the latest breach of Webroot, Kaseya, and ConnectWise, and using those platforms to hack the clients of MSPs, what is Syncro doing to mitigate the risk of, one, being hacked into, and two, if a breach would occur at the Syncro corporate level to prevent the hacker from accessing MSP clients' machines? Okay, lots of things here. First of all, this is a really good question. I think that everybody should be concerned about security. And MSP platforms, you're correct, are now more than ever a target of that. So let me just talk a little bit about some of the things that we do. First of all, we have, and we always have been super like security focused. A lot of our devs are like go to DEFCON and all these things and stuff like that. So whenever we're building stuff, first of all, our devs are super aware of that. The second thing is we have put a bunch of measures in place. So for example, none of our employees can remote into any of your clients' machines. Like they can't do that. They also can't, there's also a bunch of tracking. So if someone was to do that, we would know. Let's see. There are all kinds of sensitive, oh, they also can't run scripts on your client's machine. So there's a bunch of like built-in things where we're like, okay, the worst case scenario, if somehow somebody got compromised, like what shouldn't they be able to do? So we have a bunch of fail safes like that. Secondly, there's two-factor authentication on everything for our employees on that side. We pay a bunch of extra money, for example, for hosting. We use Heroku for our hosting. Rather than using AWS. Heroku sits on top of AWS and they handle all kinds of like infrastructure security. So like we don't have to worry about patching our servers and stuff like that. Heroku does that. And so we're paying like maybe 2 to 3 times as much for Heroku than we would if we went to AWS. Okay. Lastly, one of the things that we do is we spend a ton of money paying bounty hunters. So we have security researchers that are constantly every single month trying to audit our applications and find any kind of vulnerability they can. And when we started doing that, they actually did find a bunch of stuff that was like, oh wow, like that's kind of important. And then we patch that stuff, right? Like so whenever we get a report of that, we pay them a bunch of money, we patch it immediately. In the beginning, so like years ago, this was like a bigger deal, like we'd find larger things. And now it's like little teeny nitpicky things that like, yeah, they matter, but they're really not as big a deal. And we're constantly patching that stuff. So we feel like that's a much better model than getting audited, because when you get audited, the incentive for the security researcher is to like finish the thing and give you a stamp and get paid. And then you can be like, oh yeah, we have this thing, but it's like from 6 months ago and like all kinds of things come out all the time. So instead we just pay people constantly to go and try to find things. And then we patch that stuff. Yeah, and I think the last thing I want to say is that we are super aware of this because we don't want to be hacked. There's like lots of reasons for that. Number one, it would be really bad for you guys. Number two, it would be really bad for us. You wouldn't like us anymore, right? So like the incentives there are aligned, and I would be like foolish to say we're 100% secure because that doesn't exist. But we do the best we possibly can, and that's kind of all I can tell you. Yeah. Also, we have two-factor authentication in Syncro. Please turn it on. We are strongly considering requiring you to do so. But the reason Webroot was that one of those breaches happened in Webroot is because somebody didn't have two-factor authentication turned on. So please turn your two-factor authentication on in Syncro. Yeah. Yes, I think we should require it, and we are talking about that. As a result of a lot of the stuff that's been happening. I hope that everyone here is security aware enough that they already have it enabled, and if we do decide to require it, which I'm leaning towards, it doesn't change anybody's lives because they already have it on. Okay, moving on. If you do have any other questions about security stuff, I'm happy to answer, but I ranted for a while. Okay, what is the cost for Malwarebytes? I have no idea. The integration for Malwarebytes, we don't resell the licenses, so you actually still go to Malwarebytes to get the licenses. So I actually don't know what it costs. Let's see here. Any you want to answer in particular, Crystal?
I'll just say, Bradley, on documentation, I've seen the request, and I know that we've talked about it too, to add iframe support to documentation. So, I think that it's definitely a section that can continue to improve. So I think that, it's definitely a good request. Let's see. Um, as far as a roadmap, Alan, so we have an internal roadmap for sure. It's not public by any means, but in no way is it private. So, like, for example, Ian's super transparent, and I tried to be as if I know something's on the roadmap and you ask about it, we'll absolutely tell you, and let you know, hey, yeah, that's coming, or not really. I don't really see that happening. So it's not a public roadmap, but we're pretty transparent about it.
As an example, there's a question here from Bradley. Is there any way to find mismatch of computer name and asset name and have it rename automatically? We're actually working on a thing so that you never have to do that. So it's just automatic.
Sweet.
Let's see. Is there any way to reset the password vault? Yeah, no. There, if you forget your password, you're just like you're kind of screwed. But yeah, I think you might want to message support. They might be able to do it for you. Let's see here. Any other color options coming besides dark mode and the default weird greenish color? It's called teal, but not currently. We don't have any other color options coming. Maybe at some point we'll let you pick a color or a swatch or something. But for now, we would really like to focus on things that make you money.
Randy, I really like the idea of the ability to add worksheets to almost like a community worksheet library. I really like that idea. There's a lot. I'm getting lost, Ian.
Yes, there are a lot. Question here from Randy. How about the ability to add worksheets to the community so we can potentially share them? Yes, I love that. There's a whole thing that, like, in my dreams I want to add. And I really feel like we'll get there. There's just so many feature requests. But in my dreams, this is what I think about when I go to sleep. I would love for like every feature to be community enabled. So you want to share your PDF templates or your worksheets or your automated remediations or whatever, your event log queries, all that stuff should be available via the community. And yes, so I love that idea, Randy, and I think about it all the time. Let's see.
Also, the ability, speaking of worksheets, to be able to assign worksheets to specific customers. I get that a lot, actually, Jonathan, where you have specific steps for a certain customer, and it's different for each customer. So I have heard that requested a lot too.
Got a question here from Melissa. Can passwords be viewed with a user password rather than giving all staff the password vault passphrase? Yeah, unfortunately, what happened was when we first made the password vault, we used OpenPGP encryption, which is incredibly secure to the point where we can't do that. So, unfortunately, we picked a method of encryption that is very, very strict, and so there are some limitations with what we can do with it. So no, you can't do that. It can only have, unfortunately, one password. At some point, we may overhaul that system to make it so you can, access it from the mobile app or from or with different passwords and things like that, but can't currently do.
Good question, Ben. Any white label marketing materials on the way? So we actually are working with our marketing team right now on different options of like whether it be a pamphlet or just a PDF or something like that. So I know that that's something that we've been discussing too. Let's see. Our timesheets coming to the mobile app. Melissa, I'd have to check for you. I'm not positive if that's on the roadmap for the near future. Of course.
Yeah, password resets in the customer portal. Yes. I'm sorry that's not in there. I do. Yes, I imagine that is a waste of time. So, yes, we want to do that. We got a comment here from Lauren. Thank you. It says PAX8 does do the prorations in Syncro recurring invoices. So thank you for clarifying that.
Nice.
Rob says, would love the option to have custom customer fields for individual customers rather than all customers. Yes, I have heard that. I think like one way we could accomplish that is by being able to set visibility per customer for custom fields. Because I imagine for most customers, you're going to have the same custom fields, and then there's like some customization that happens for each one. So I have thought about that. I think it would be cool. The same, we have it in a sense for tickets, where you can have like ticket custom field types. So we could do something along those lines. We don't have customer types right now, so that's probably why that doesn't exist. Man, there's so many questions I almost like don't know. Okay, can you add build number to assets for Windows 10 so we can see easily? Yes, I've heard this before. Basically what he's asking for is if he can see the build number in the asset detail page. We can certainly add that. If you could submit a ticket, I guess this is a question for comment for everybody. The easiest way for us to track feature requests is if you submit a ticket. We do like count how many people ask for what. So if you want to email help@syncromsp.com and let them know what you want, then they can keep track of that for you. I have heard the build number thing before. That's a pretty easy thing for us. So we can look into that.
Well, we're headed right up on that hour. If we didn't get to your questions, please, like, whether if it's technical or if I've talked to you before, you could email me directly or help@Syncro MSP. But I just want to thank you all for spending some time with us this morning. Again, as Ian mentioned, we really enjoy doing these, getting to chat with you guys, showing you all the cool stuff we're doing. And we'll try to do this again in about a month or a little bit after that. So again, from me, thank you very much for hanging out.
Thanks a lot, everybody.